Has the injury bug struck again? Because I have to tell you, I am concerned about when Bush will be able to return, but at the same time, it's not as bad as it seems, and I do have the update for you. This is all coming up here on Locked On Blues.
You're Locked On Blues, your daily podcast on the St. Louis Blues. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome back to Locked On Blues. I am your host, Haley Taylor Simon, talking to you all things St. Louis Blues. On today's episode, as I teased yesterday, I will be talking about some things that surprised me. And one of them, of course, was a topic that has made me very upset, and that is Bush's upper body injury. I'm going to also touch on the significance of Thursday's game against the Coyotes. And then, of course, some stats, facts, and more after 2 games that the Blues have played thus far this season. But I do want to jump into what's going on with Bush, when he'll be back, and what we can expect. Before I tell you about that, I'm going to just let you know that today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. The question we all want to know here in St. Louis is what is going on with Bush, okay? Right now, he's sore and he is still not ready to get on the ice. And this is coming from Craig Berube, head coach of the St. Louis Blues. Right now, it's day-to-day. It's all about how he feels when he subsides and when he can go on the ice, and we will advance from there. My personal thoughts after hearing this quote from, again, head coach Craig Berube of the St. Louis Blues was that maybe this is not as bad as it seems. While we don't have an actual understanding of when he will be able to go back on the ice, this kind of comment, right, it strikes me as a comment that says, you know what, it's day by day. It's not anything where he needs immediate surgery. It's none of that. I don't think he's going to play on Thursday against the Coyotes. That is my opinion of just from his injury on Saturday's game. I wouldn't expect him to play on Thursday, but I think that this is not a season-ending injury, and I think that was a lot of concern heading into this gap between games between the Kraken and the Coyotes was, okay, is this going to be enough time for him to recover? Are we going to have an update? But I think Coach Berube basically insinuating that the Blues are going to be day by day with this is a good sign. Obviously, it's not the sign that anybody in particular wants. And just to let you know about Saturday's game against the Kraken, he only played 5 minutes and 27 seconds of ice time in the game. And he actually did record 1 hit, by the way. But he did leave the game late in the first period. And it is something important to bring up. It is not a concussion. I just wanted to let that be known because a lot of times with upper body injuries, you think of head and you think of a concussion. And it is not a concussion. It's confirmed that it's not a concussion. So obviously, whatever it is, it's something that he can recover from. And I think that's very important too at the same time is just to remind you that this is something that's serious. And I take head injuries very seriously in the NHL as it could really leave some long-term damage. But at the end of the day, I am hoping for a speedy recovery from him as he is one of our best forwards on the team and he brings a lot to the ice. And overall, he's just a fantastic player, unbelievable. So without him, yes, there are some concerns that make me a little bit worried about Thursday's game. But at the end of the day, as long as he is okay, that is all I care about. And it just sucks, right? It sucks that this had to happen, and it sucks that he did get injured so early on into the game. But they are saying that he will recover, and I think watching the game, right, he took a big hit from Seattle's defenseman. If I mispronounced it, my apologies. Jamie Olaskak in the first period. And while he did have a hit, he also took a hit. And it's one of those things where he is one of the best to be around. And I have a quote from teammate Jordan Kyrou that said this about Bush. He's one of the best players and he's great all around. It sucks to see him get hurt, but guys got to step up and they did. And they did that tonight. And another thing that I do want to say is this. The Kraken's defenseman did not get penalized for this hit. And yeah, you could argue it was a clean hit. I don't think so. And you can rewatch the tapes and let me know. But at the end of the day, I really just think that it was a dirty hit. I didn't like it. And it just, honestly, it just seemed a little bit malicious. But that's hockey. Players do get injured. And it's something that has happened numerous times in this league where there's big hits and yet there's no penalty. Now, does this go into a player safety issue? Maybe. But at the end of the day, this is what I'm going to say about this whole thing is right now, my concern isn't some defenseman on the Kraken getting penalized after the matter of fact. My focus right now is on a healthy Bush, and Kyrou was right. This does impact the rest of the team. You have one of your best forwards out due to a bad hit. And now your team, which honestly has impressed me, has to step up, especially if he cannot play on Thursday. I am hoping maybe by tomorrow, as today is Tuesday, that there will be some more news on if he will be able to play or not. But I have to tell you, my honest opinion is I don't think so. But I am curious as to what you think. Do you think that he's going to play Thursday, or do you think that he's not going to be able to? Because from what Coach Berube said, it seems like this injury may not be as bad, but a lot of players are day-to-day. It happens all the time in the NHL, and then they end up playing in their next game. The interesting thing is, and I talked about the scheduling, was the Blues, they do have, well, now it's a little bit shortened because the week's been going on, but they had 5 days between the 2 games. So there was definitely time for him to recover if it was just a little bit of being shaken up. But again, it could have been a collarbone. I don't know what an upper body injury is when they're not telling me what an upper body injury is. But I don't like that he's not on the ice. That is something that, I don't want to say it makes me nervous that he's not on the ice, but it definitely doesn't make me feel good that he's not on the ice. But the Blues, and just so you know, because I want to also just say this, they are a very resilient team. They are a team that has really impressed so many so far. So the Blues, they do play this Thursday against the Coyotes, and then they also play on Saturday against the Penguins. So I'm hoping maybe by the time they play the Penguins, Bush will be better again and he'll be able to participate. But they have a tough slate of games coming ahead. They play Winnipeg, and I'm not saying Winnipeg is one of the best teams, but they're one of those teams that are in the middle. And of course, when you look at a team like Colorado, which is going to be on the 1st, that makes me a little bit nervous. And again, with New Jersey, they're another good team, even though they lost to the Coyotes. But the Blues, I mean, they do have a somewhat challenging schedule, and this is something that I've said since the schedule got released, that I did find this to be one of their more challenging years, right? So a lot is on the line. It's not the end of the world if he can't play. Obviously, we want him to be his most healthy self, not just for the game of hockey, but just so he is healthy overall. And hopefully he'll be able to play. But this is some good news from Coach Berube that he just gave, and it gave me a lot of reassurance that Bush will be okay. He will be A-okay, not even just okay. So for those that want continuous updates, again, make sure to follow me on Locked On Blues, and that is at Locked On Blues on Twitter. And if anything significant happens, I will keep you posted. One thing I am going to touch on in this next segment is the significance of Thursday's game against the Coyotes, and it may not be for the reasons that you think. I have to tell you, sometimes it is so frustrating finding tickets. I try to find tickets to go to the games, and there's all these fees, and you can't see where you're sitting, and it is an awful experience. But luckily, I use Game Time, and Game Time is the best. You get your tickets in seconds, you can see where you're sitting, and they have flash deals, zone deals all of the time, and it's the best way to get some last minute tickets. And the other thing I like about Game Time is they make it super easy. It's 2 taps, literally 2 taps, and your ticket is secured and set. So this is what I want you to do. I want you to take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices, guaranteed. Speaking of guaranteed, I was going to say I think Thursday's game is a guaranteed win, but after the Coyotes beat the Devils, I was like, man, are you kidding me? In a shootout, it's always a shootout. What is with the NHL and shootouts this year? There has been so many shootouts, so many weird coincidental things, because it's not even just the Blues, it's other teams too. And I'm like, wait, is this a season of shootouts? Because if so, I hate it here. I love shootouts when it's other teams. Love to watch it. Entertaining hockey. When it's your own team, it's not as fun. I mean, you get a point no matter what, so I guess you can look at it that way. But shootouts are nerve-wracking. It's worse than overtime. I'd rather a sudden death OT rather than a shootout, but I do understand that overtime, that can go on and on and on and on. Okay, sometimes 5 minutes is not enough, and you just need to end the game. It's regular season, and luckily in postseason, you can have the utmost amount of time possible for overtime when it's playoff hockey, which is my favorite aspect actually of playoff hockey. So what I was saying about Thursday's game to anybody that is a history buff like me and loves your history of the St. Louis Blues, the Blues Hall of Fame will be doing basically an honor for this game against the Coyotes. So just to give you a little bit of information, the inaugural class featured 11 former players, and I know you all love these guys to death because I do, and it's so funny because when I hear these names, I'm going to recite them to you. It just makes me think of such good times, and even times that I don't really remember because I wasn't alive yet. It makes me just think back to all the videos I would watch of the Blues with the family and how much these players meant. So the 11 players were Red Bearson, Bernie Federico, Bob Gassoff, Glenn Hall, Brett Hall, well, everyone's favorite, my favorite, Al McNiss, Barclay Plager, Bob Plager, Chris Pronger, another favorite of mine, Brian Sutter, and Gary Unger. One of my other favorites. I'm saying like all of them are my favorites. Alongside a legendary coach, Scotty Bowman, and broadcaster Dan Kelly, and Blues original owner Sid Salomon Jr. and Sid Salomon III. So yes, I cannot wait to see this next class. Oh man, but like you hear those names, you hear Brett Hull, you hear Chris Pronger, and it's just even Scotty, man. You hear all these names and it floods all these memories of the Blues throughout the years. And I think that this game, I mean, you had your home opener, then you're doing another Hall of Fame class. I think that this is just a good way to start off the season. It really does set things in the right tone, especially for a team like the Blues that are trying to find themselves again and trying to be a better team with the talent that they have, because they do have talent. Hopefully this will motivate seeing some of these Blues, and not even just Blues legends, hockey legends out on the ice. And for me, at least, I fangirl. Well, not fangirl, but I get excited when I hear some of these guys that used to play because that's what being a St. Louis Blues fan is. It's the history. And I think that a lot of fan bases don't really know what that's like to have such historical players be on your team. I mean, we've had Gretzky as a captain at one point. Like, it's crazy when you think about the amount of talent that has come by St. Louis and that have worn the blue note. And the blue note is so significant. And I was thinking about it, and I don't think any other team has that one symbolic thing like we do with our note, right? Our players call it the blue note. Like, we just take so much passion. And I think that just really stems into what this fan base is. And I think that is why Thursday's game, obviously, it's going to be tough without Bush if he doesn't play, but I'm hoping for the best. But, you know, the Coyotes, they're not a good team. And they're not, I hate that I'm saying this. Do I have to say this? They're not a bad team. I know. They're not. And I hate to say it. I think that the Coyotes obviously are one of the weaker teams. I mean, I understand that they're not doing great. I mean, they've won one game and they lost another game. Okay. So they're not the best team. But Kreider, I don't know. Okay, so here's the thing, and I'm going to talk about this. So when the Coyotes played New York, Kreider scored, and he's on the Rangers, right? And I wanted to talk about this because this is something that's very interesting. He is one of the better players in the league. And the Coyotes, for the most part, were really able to be on top of him. And that was one of my notes is, if the Coyotes were able to stay on top of him, then will they be able to stay on top of a guy like Robert Thomas or Shen? And that's what concerns me. And that was my biggest note from their game against the Rangers was the Coyotes actually did pretty well covering Kreider, and that concerns me. I will be diving more in depth about the Coyotes in tomorrow's episode, really previewing the game ahead and giving a more in-depth analysis. But I wanted to put that out there. If they can really put up a good fight against that Rangers team, and especially Kreider, then who's to say that they can't do that against some of our guys? And despite the fact that they lost, it wasn't an easy win for the Rangers whatsoever. It was actually, I would like to say, a little bit challenging, which then concerns me. And then they win in the shootout against the Devils. Am I concerned? Kind of, more so than I thought I would be heading into this game. I can tell you that that is a fact. And I hate that that is a fact. And speaking of facts, I'm about to tell you all things facts and more in my newest segment called Stats, Facts, and More, surprising enough, where I'm just going to reiterate some facts that went on during the season for the Blues, as we're only 2 games in, but hey, it's still enough time for some statistics, okay? So before I dive into that, as you can see with the little banner, if you're on YouTube, FanDuel. Snap into action this NFL season with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there is no better time to get in on the action. The app is so easy to use, and there is a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. One thing that I always like to tell people is when it comes to those KC Chiefs, always do the money line for the most part. Always bet on Mahomes throwing over 220 yards, and you're usually solid. I do that, and I win some money every single time. I put $5 down. I do a 2-leg parlay. And with FanDuel, they have so many different options. They have boosts. So, like, FanDuel is incredible. You really can win some money off of that, let me tell you. So, FanDuel. facts and more. What? Stats. Okay. That was my intro for stats, facts, and more, where I will be talking about some statistics that go on throughout this season. And today, of course, I have to start with the unsung hero. No, I'm joking. He's been sung about because it is Jordan Binnington, the goalie of the St. Louis Blues, and my personal hero after the game on Saturday night. So what a start for Jordan Binnington. Okay, I'm going to tell you some percentages. He has a .969 save percentage. What? And he has saved 63 out of 65 shots on goal. What? He is playing phenomenal hockey. I know it's only 2 games. That's on you, NHL, for not scheduling the Blues to play more consistently. What? No. But he has been playing absolutely phenomenal, great hockey. And it has just been something that I have been really enjoying. While it has only been 2 games, I am not going to let anybody tell me that I cannot enjoy seeing Benner succeed. As I said on yesterday's episode, he looks back to his old self. The defense, they have stepped up significantly from the end of last season to make it a lot, I don't want to say easier for Benner, but a lot more achievable for Benner to make those saves. And 63 out of 65 is incredible, especially the fact that the defense and the blue line is the biggest concern with this team still. And I don't think anybody can deny the fact that the defense has been stepping up and they've been helping our guy, Jordan Binnington, succeed. I have been uber impressed. Now, do I think that he's going to always be saving that many as the season goes on? No. Of course not. You know, I know the other teams are going to score. There's going to be some games where it might be a lot and it's like, okay, I got to turn this off, but you're not going to because you're a loyal St. Louis Blues fan. But I am really impressed with that. I think this is such a great start to the season. The best start that he's had to any season after 2 games. It's so silly when I say that because if I was saying that in football, it would be a completely different topic. But it's hockey where you have so many games and I'm like, oh, after 2 games, I'm like, oh, this could age badly, but I hope not. Another thing that I wanted to talk to you, St. Louis, is about some fun new games that are coming up for theme nights. I know. I like to talk about what's going on with the Blues so you can get all of your St. Louis Blues information. And yes, besides the players and the game analysis, that also includes what's going on at Enterprise. So on December 6th, it is the Grateful Dead night. Oh, February 15th, that's my birthday. Fun fact. If anybody, no, I'm joking, just subscribe. It's a present. Is the Blues night presented by BJC Healthcare. So Blue Heart Blues Night. March 28th. Oh, sorry. I was like, that's the day before my dad's birthday. I don't know why I'm telling everybody everyone's birthday in my family. It is Margaritaville night to honor the great Jimmy Buffett. Sipping away in blue. I can't rhyme. Okay. April 1st is superhero night. So a lot of fun nights ahead. It's going to be a jam-packed season. I am going to try to come out for one of the fun themed nights. So I will keep you posted on that. But I have been enjoying this so much so far, and I am excited to see what we can do against the Coyotes. I am hoping tomorrow, though, before I conclude today's episode, for an update on Bush and what's going on with him. But until then, how I end every single episode, let's go Blues. And then I'm going to do a really dramatic pause and do my outro. Goodbye.